Jackson Mahomes, the younger brother of Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Prosecutors alleged Mahomes grabbed a woman by the throat and forcibly kissed her. If those 3 counts are dismissed, Jackson Mahomes would only face a misdemeanor battery charge.
I am in disbelief at the conclusion of all of this. All of these months, we were finally going to see justice. He was finally going to be held accountable. And, well, the result is very disappointing. So let's get to it. For those of you guys that don't know, Jackson Mahomes is the brother of the face of the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, and instead of keeping his mouth shut and making TikToks like he used to, Jackson has publicly disgraced NFL legends, has publicly disgraced NFL fans, has tried to take the spotlight away from his brother after he won a Super Bowl, and to top it all off, was arrested for felony acts that would land the average human being in federal prison. And that's exactly the problem. Jackson Mahomes isn't your average human being. Once you find out what happened to Jackson Mahomes after he did this heinous act, I guarantee you will lose your mind, because I definitely did. So before we get to the content, every time we cover this individual, we get demonetized. If you want to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on our notification to help the channel grow, that'd be greatly appreciated. Now that we get all of that out of the way, break! We made $1,100 off of a $20 entry on Prize Picks. And it wasn't just me, it was everyone that followed these picks on my Instagram story. And the best feeling is the amount of people that made money as a result of this. I mean, bam, 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 bam! My DMs were flooded, so the best part for me was seeing you guys make money as well. But we're not done yet. If you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, use my promo code microphone to double your deposit up until $100 on Prize Picks. And I give away my picks on a daily basis for free on my Instagram story and now my Snapchat story. We're having so much fun doing this. I'm so happy that I made you guys some money. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Before Jackson Mahomes was committing felonies, he was just a regular TikToker. Well, not a regular TikTok, as his claim to fame wasn't talent, it wasn't being attractive, it wasn't being a good dancer, it wasn't anything that took real skill. And I want to place an emphasis on that because there are individuals that appear on TikTok and blow up because they're very talented at what they do, including some extremely talented dancers. Jackson Mahomes wasn't that. He was doing everything he possibly could to gain a following as easily as he can and would take every shortcut along the way in order to do so, primarily by doing trendy TikTok dances. And I will admit, it definitely catches your eye when you see a 6'3" dude in Jackson Mahomes' stature in shorts that are way too short doing dances like this. But for the most part, historically, I really didn't care because he's just a young kid. He's probably trying to find himself. He's trying to figure out who he is as an individual in this world. And yeah, when I was that age, I wasn't necessarily doing cringy TikTok dances, but I was making cringy video game YouTube videos that my friends would make fun of. You're finding yourself at that age, and that's okay. My problem was, at some point along the way, this went from a silly kid who was the brother of one of the most famous individuals in the United States to feeling that he was entitled to doing whatever he wanted to do, even if that meant he was a danger to others, even if that meant he was disrespectful to others, even if that meant harming businesses. And the first incident where Jackson Mahomes got himself into some trouble was after the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Baltimore Ravens by 1 point in week 2 of the 2021 NFL season. There was a clip of Jackson Mahomes dumping water on a heckling fan, and this went absolutely viral. And I guess you could say he paved the way for other individuals in the NFL to follow in his footsteps, as David Tepper just did the same thing just a few weeks ago. But the difference between David Tepper and Jackson Mahomes is David Tepper is a billionaire owner of the Carolina Panthers, and he was fined $300,000. Up until this point, Jackson didn't really get into any real trouble, but technically speaking, he did assault that fan by throwing liquid on him. And after the game, to make things worse, instead of apologizing, Jackson tweeted out they were thirsty, which indicates that he really doesn't have any remorse about what he did. A few days later in a press conference, instead of being asked about the upcoming football game, Patrick Mahomes had to answer for his little brother's shortcomings of being a decent human being.
Obviously, it's something that we don't want to necessarily do. There was things said to him and Brittany that you don't see kind of on the clip. But I mean, he's been good at it, at not trying to respond to that stuff. He takes a lot, and he's usually pretty good at it, and he'll learn from it, and just try to stay away from those people as best he can.
Okay, so far, Jackson Mahomes assaulted someone at a football game, and maybe I'm just a YouTuber that over-exaggerates things, because that's what YouTubers do.
You just dumped water on him, Mike. He didn't assault anyone, and maybe the guy had it coming. Maybe he really got underneath Jackson Mahomes' skin.
Well, just a few weeks later, Jackson Mahomes officially made at least 75% of the NFL strongly dislike him when he posted a TikTok of him dancing on top of the late great Sean Taylor's memorial, which, if you know the story of Sean Taylor, which we did a documentary on Sean Taylor when we started this channel, you'd understand how despicable this is. This is a man that without a doubt had the potential to be one of the best, if not the greatest safety to play the game, an individual that was able to play both safety positions, as a matter of fact, hard hitting, ball hawking, everything you'd want to see, finally got his life together, and then, right as he did, it was all tragically taken away from him. And here comes a young teenage little boy that is dancing on top of this memorial just to gain more followers on TikTok. Now, in Jackson's defense, in a tweet, he would half-heartedly apologize, saying, "I want to sincerely apologize for accidentally being on Sean Taylor's number 21 at FedEx Field. We were directed to stand in that area, and I meant absolutely no disrespect to him or his family." Now, the reason why I'm saying half-heartedly here is because after saying he sincerely apologizes, he blames the reason for dancing on the memorial on the employees who directed him to stand there, which is honestly hard to believe because in the video you can literally see that memorial was chained off. After this incident, Jackson Mahomes kept his antics going by trying to cancel a small business just a few months later. This man truly became a menace to society in the final 3 months of 2021, posting to a story, "Question Kansas City friends, who has been a SOT? The service is absolutely terrible, and the bartenders are so rude. I would not recommend." The very next day, the bar posted a reply saying, "It's time to have a talk. Today we are experiencing a lot of activity over social media regarding a recent visit paid to us by an unhappy guest. This person happens to have a lot of followers on social media, and therefore it is something that we cannot ignore. Voice reach and influence are power. In our case, and with many businesses that are locally owned, the power of a few social media personalities can make or break that business. This grants these people this certain power to affect our livelihoods. There are those who have built their influence by being responsible, informed, positive, and sincere." Guys, I think he's talking about me. And then there are those that have built their followings by being the opposite. That being said, we have some apologies to make. Dear Jackson Mahomes, we are sorry that we set boundaries that you tried to ignore. Oftentimes, people with unearned status and a sense of entitlement think that they are above the rules and will lash out at the employee enforcing them. We are sorry that we could not seat your very large group. As you probably saw, our bar is very small. We are sorry that you have the reach that you do, or at least that you think you do, and that instead of using it for something positive, you decided to use it to try to crush a small business. We survived a global pandemic and will survive your ego. We are sorry you didn't reach out to us first before taking to social media, but then again, that is an expectation we would have from a mature and rational person, not someone who pours water on fans and dances on the memorials of tragically lost people for TikTok clout. We have not been fortunate enough to be born into a much more talented and much more famous family, but we would like to think that if we did have that much luck, we would use our influence in more responsible ways. We hope our apology finds you well. And unfortunately, the very next day, the bar had to retract their statement and issue a real apology, which just means some Jackson Mahomes stands got really mad, started harassing them, and the bar just wanted them to stop. After this incident, Jackson Mahomes was pretty quiet for the 2022 regular season, to his credit, and I actually gave him a lot of credit during that season as well. But the crazy part was, the literal moment the season ended, which resulted in the Chiefs winning a Super Bowl, it's like he emerged from the darkness. It's like when Cam Newton scored his first touchdown after returning to the Carolina Panthers. He took his helmet off and screamed, Pretty much that's what Mahomes did. You can literally see Jackson Mahomes doing TikTok dances on the field as Patrick Mahomes was giving his post-game interview. Now, doing dances is one thing, and doing a dance right after your brother just won his second Super Bowl trophy and cemented himself as one of the best quarterbacks ever is another. Like, seriously, can we take a step back and just appreciate this for a second? There are very few quarterbacks that win a Super Bowl, and there are rarely quarterbacks that are able to make it to the two Super Super Bowl tier. Patrick Mahomes was able to do it against all odds, despite losing Tyreek Hill, despite having a significant downgrade in the wide receiver room. Patrick Mahomes was able to win his second Super Bowl, and instead of his brother going up to him and showing him love, his brother decided to do some TikTok dances. But at the end of the day, he's not really harming anyone here. He just looks like an idiot, a self-centered, pompous, self-righteous idiot. However, the truth is, all that he had done up until this point is really nothing compared to what he would do next. A felony that Jackson Mahomes would commit a few months later that was so indefensible that even Patrick Mahomes' wife seemed to have given up on him. In May of 2023, Jackson Mahomes was accused of essaying a Kansas City bar owner. And in case you didn't think this is a credible accusation, it was all caught on camera in 4K. You could see the whole act go down. Jackson allegedly lured the bar owner to the back of the establishment by requesting to speak with her in private. And once there, allegedly choked her, put his tongue in her mouth, not once but multiple times. In the video, the woman is clearly uncomfortable and is trying to turn away from Jackson, but he won't stop. Since the incident, the bar owner claimed that her business had dropped by over 75%, that people had cut the natural gas lines, cut the water lines, and even ruined the air conditioning in the establishment. The craziest part of this story is how so many people back up this nepotistic psychopath. I can't believe there are people that look at the content and then think Jackson is the victim here.
You know, if you was a real black dude, they would arrest you a long time ago.
I mean, up until this point, I was willing to give him a pass for some of the stuff that he did. But at this point, man, we're no longer talking about a 17-year-old kid, which was Jackson Mahomes' age when Patrick Mahomes first started for the Kansas City Chiefs. Jackson is now 23 years old. He's gonna be 24 years old in 4 months from now. This is an adult. He's no longer a teenager. And the saddest part of this is, due to all this negative press and lost revenue, the bar had to shut down. Meaning that because Jackson Mahomes allegedly essayed the bar owner, the bar had to shut down as a consequence. Speaking of consequences, the worst part of all is coming up, which is Jackson Mahomes' consequences. Just yesterday, it was announced that all 3 felonies being charged against Jackson Mahomes would be dropped due to the victim not wanting to cooperate with prosecutors, which when you take into account people were going after her business, it makes a lot of sense. It's really messed up when you think about it. There was video evidence of the altercation. There were witnesses that testified in regards to this altercation, and yet people attacked her business for her being a victim. What would have happened to her and her family if she continued to press charges? Jackson's attorney even had the audacity to say that his client has done nothing wrong. We had full confidence that the truth of the matter would ultimately be revealed, which honestly is just mind-boggling because we can literally see in the video clear as day, Jackson grabs her throat and tries to kiss her while she's trying to pull away, not once but multiple times. So even with that video evidence, Jackson is not going to be charged with any felonies. And maybe, just maybe, he might be charged with a misdemeanor for shoving a waiter in the restaurant on the same night. There is no way these charges would have been dropped if Jackson wasn't a public figure with a weird amount of ravenous fans. And I doubt this is the last we hear of Jackson Mahomes. Luckily for us, he's been frequenting this channel less and less. But at the end of the day, the saddest part of all about this entire story is this could have been a turning point in Jackson's life. Maybe it still could be. Maybe this scared him so much that he turns over a new leaf, but I highly doubt it. This one moment where he was caught on camera allegedly essaying the Kansas City bar owner, the repercussions for this would have without a doubt changed his life. I honestly think going to prison would have been good for him. I think if he was held accountable just one time in his life, instead of consistently getting a pass for being Patrick Mahomes' brother, you may have seen a new version of Jackson Mahomes, maybe a better human that can contribute to society. But at the rate that he's going, I think Jackson Mahomes is more likely to continue turning into a horrible person, because so far, based upon the body of work, he does seem like a horrible person. And I feel like the opportunity he had for the most growth was just taken away from him. I never want to wish bad on anyone, I just want to say that, but I do believe that if he was held held accountable, then it would have been a positive step in his development, and maybe he would have turned over a new leaf. Now I just think he's just going to continue on the same path. He's going to pop out of nowhere, do whatever he wants, and he's not really going to think twice about it because there's never repercussions for him doing whatever he wants. So let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about all this? Do you think that there's a chance that maybe the woman was paid off by the Mahomes family? Do you think it was something else that resulted in her not wanting to talk? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.